Well, thanks, Dominic, and good afternoon. Thank you to the organizers for helping to pull this event together. I'm excited to talk about offshore wind, one of my favorite topics, and just emphasize how integral policymakers and elected officials have been to getting us to this stage in New Jersey. I think New Jersey is a leader in the offshore wind space, and a large part of that is due to the commitment from folks like Governor Murphy and former Senator Sweeney and many others in the New Jersey legislature and colleagues in the administrations over the years as well. But elected officials have played an important role of getting us to where we are today. And I'm not sure, I can't see the slides, but hopefully they're up. There we go. So just a couple of quick things I'll run through in terms of how we got here. So can go right to the next slide. Thank you, Nui. I think there's sort of four critical pieces from the New Jersey value proposition. And number one, right away, you'll see is strong political commitment. And that comes through in our policies and in the actions that the administrations have taken over the years. I think also our central location on the East Coast is critical. And I think Mark earlier mentioned the sort of the shallow coastline. And, we have an ideal location for offshore wind development. We have a large target, 11,000 megawatts, that we're trying to get built over the next 10 years. And we've really focused on ports and supply chain investments to help make the industry real. Partnered with the Wind Institute to make sure that there's strong workforce development, research and innovation programming as well. So we can go to the next slide, please. Just emphasizing the political support. I think we have a strong energy master plan that underscores New Jersey's offshore wind target. We've consistently increased our targets to reflect the reality of the technology and the opportunity of offshore wind off the coast of New Jersey. And we've augmented that with other transmission and other clean energy policies as well. Can move to the next slide, please. We've taken a whole of government approach. So like I said, many colleagues across agencies within the state, primarily the Board of Public Utilities staff, folks at the Department of Environmental Protection who focus on permitting and making sure that we're doing things responsibly, as well as partners at the Department of Labor and the Office of Higher Education as well. Can go to the next slide, please. A differentiator for New Jersey is that we have a very clear timetable and public schedule in terms of the procurement of offshore wind. And so for the development community, and I think for the general public, it's clear when we're going to be issuing solicitations, when the deadlines will be, and when those awards will be made. And you can see we already have more than 5 gigawatts awarded between 3 projects, all of which will come online later this decade and early in the 2030s. Can go to the next slide, please. In terms of innovative policy approaches, I think one major achievement from the Board of Public Utilities was the state agreement approach. It was an innovative approach to reducing costs for ratepayers and making sure that there's an ability for the projects that get built off the coast of New Jersey to interconnect into the grid. And over time, we think that the Larrabee Tri-Collector solution that the BPU awarded will save ratepayers approximately $900 million versus having each developer do their own path. Can go to the next slide, please. Mark mentioned the importance of regional coordination, and this is something that we're committed to at EDA and across the administration. So we've signed a collaborative agreement with New York State in 2022, and we also joined the federal state offshore wind implementation partnership, which is focused on addressing some of the supply chain issues that have challenged the industry. In terms of our partnership with New York, we regularly conduct free trainings that are facilitated by Oceanic. They're free for any New York or New Jersey business who wants to learn more about how they can participate in the offshore wind sector. And the next training is actually tomorrow. I'll have a slide on that at the end. We co-hosted a supplier forum to engage folks within the supply chain in January, and we're planning another event later this year. And we have 2 additional programs that are under development that we expect to launch later this year. So we are actively partnering with New York State and other partners around the region. Can go to the next slide, please. Like I said, we focused heavily on investments in ports and supply chains. And so you can see here, New Jersey Windport is our sort of crown jewel in terms of investments. And it is, I'll talk more about that in a moment, but we expect that it's going to have co-location of marshaling and manufacturing in South Jersey, very accessible for wind energy areas that are off the coast of New Jersey, but also for projects that are being built off the coast of New York or Maryland or other states. All three of the developers who've won offtake agreements from New Jersey are planning to marshal their projects from New Jersey Windport. And then we have the operations and maintenance hubs that are being developed in Atlantic City and hopefully in the future in Port Reading. And then I just, again, point to Paulsboro as a success story in terms of domestic component manufacturing. The first monopile that was manufactured in the United States came out of New Jersey from the EWAOS facility in Paulsboro. You can go to the next slide, please. And here's a rendering of the New Jersey Windport. So open access to the Atlantic Ocean, no bridge restrictions, more than 200 acres available for marshaling and manufacturing. And when we're done, we expect to have about 1,500 jobs in manufacturing and operations down in Salem County, and a part of the state that has not always had enough attention in terms of economic development. And we're excited about the opportunity here. You can go to the next slide, please. So here's a drone footage of the port under construction. This is from November, and I'll tell you that I go down about once a month. It has drastically come far along just since November. So in a few months, we expect Parcel A, the first marshaling site, to be completed. And if you were there today, you'd see even more progress than is shown in this aerial photo. Go to the next slide, please. Wind Institute, I mentioned earlier, this is really the state's effort to accelerate workforce development programs, champion research and innovation, and just sort of galvanize cross-stakeholder efforts to address some of what Reverend Tuff was mentioning earlier, and making sure that folks have access to the new clean energy jobs that we're working to develop here in New Jersey. Go to the next slide, please. Here's a sample of the programs that the Wind Institute has focused on. So KidWind, which is really about training our teachers and getting kids in the K through 12 system to understand offshore wind and clean energy generation. We've partnered with industry stakeholders to develop programs that can equip workers with the skills they need to succeed in the jobs of the future. So understood from conversations with the EW that there was a need for more welders. And so we then partnered with Votech schools in 3 South Jersey counties to create welding and painting training programs. In Rowan College of South Jersey, there's a wind turbine tech program that is just getting underway this spring. And again, those folks can accept jobs off the coast of New Jersey to service turbines once our farms are up and running, or they can go into New York and work on the farms that are just coming online now, or they can go inshore and work on the onshore turbine. So the skills are transferable. And we are working with Atlantic Cape Community College to build a GWO basic safety and sea survival facility. So really it's a work in progress, but the idea is that you're training folks to be safe when they're out in the ocean. And then the last one I'll highlight is the Offshore Wind Workforce Skill Development Grant Challenge. And this was specifically to get folks to develop training programs that can get folks into these occupations. There was a requirement that there be a community-based partner. And the idea is that you're prepping them to go into the union apprenticeship programs or other training, more in-depth training. But this is the entryway to build that bridge between where people may be and where they will have to be to succeed in some of these roles. Go to the next slide, please. Lastly is the fellowship program. And so on April 12th, the Wind Institute will have a research symposium where students who've been, there's more than 40 fellows from 8 universities. Those students will be presenting their research. There will be other presentations throughout the day. It's a great way to get a deep dive on what's happening in the research side in New Jersey. April 12th at Kean University, and I think there's a link at the end of my slides. You can go to the next slide, please. We are working to develop a wind innovation center. So this will be a physical space in New Jersey, combining office, convening spaces, labs, and testing facilities that will be focused on a few key technologies, specifically thinking about transmission, climate smart modeling, and sort of the technologies of the future. Can go to the next slide, please. For those that maybe are thinking about what is the business opportunity and how do small businesses benefit from the work that's being done, just highlight that this Offshore Wind Supply Chain Registry is a free resource that EDA works with Oceanic to manage. More than 800 businesses have signed up. And so when a developer is looking for a small component part or some service provider, maybe they need someone to provide catering, they can go to the supply chain registry as a first stop and find companies that are based in New Jersey who can provide those services. This is a free resource for folks to sign up. Encouraged, if you have a small business who's looking to tap into the supply chain opportunity, this is a great place to start. You can go to the next slide, please. And then I think in terms of policy support, the legislature created the Offshore Wind Tax Credit Program. And so for large manufacturers who are looking for space on the East Coast, and we know that there's going to be new facilities built for nacelles, for towers, for cable facilities, if they come to New Jersey and they commit to creating at least 150 new full-time employees, they can get a tax credit to offset their capital investment. And there is a minimum capital investment of $50 million, but that credit can be taken over 5 years to offset their corporate tax in New Jersey. And so this is just one more way that New Jersey is trying to attract the larger tier 1 manufacturers to come to New Jersey. Go to the next slide, please. I think this has been mentioned earlier, but the BPU awarded 2 new projects in the earlier part of this year, Attentive Energy 2 and Invenergy Leading Light Wind. You can see a map here of where those projects are going to be built, and also the Atlantic Shores project that was awarded in 2021, just to give folks a sense of where things are. And maybe in the next iteration of this slide deck, we'll add a little star for the wind port because it's very close and accessible for all 3 projects. Go to the next slide, please. Just an overview of those 3 the most recent projects, the NJ3 award winners. You've got 3.7 gigawatts of offshore wind coming online in the 2030s with $6.8 billion of economic benefits for New Jersey. And so that's enough to power nearly 2 million homes, and we're expecting thousands of direct jobs over the course of the projects with major commitments for supply chain purchases from New Jersey businesses. And the last slide, I think, is the upcoming trainings. And so encourage folks to sign up for the free trainings that we offer or connect with us at one of these upcoming events. We've got IPF in April, and then the ACP conference will be in Atlantic City in October, as well as Time for Turbines in October. So a lot that's happening in this space over the course of this year. And I think the next slide is just a contact page of our team. So if you're interested in chatting offline about the opportunity and what's happening in New Jersey, anyone from our team would be happy to connect. And I think that's it.